Hi, welcome to the Loop and Bar podcast. My name's Kate and I'm coming to you from North Wales in the UK. I hope you're all well. I'll start by saying, some of you will know this, it's a really long time since I've recorded a podcast episode. I am recording on my fairly old iPad and I'm recording in selfie mode, so it's a little bit confusing knowing where to look, so I do apologise because my eyes are going to be darting everywhere. But hopefully when I start showing you my knitting, I'll just be focusing on that and I won't have to think about where to look. I don't think I'll start with a life update, but what I will say is, since my last episode, we have moved house three times, and now back into our original house. So 4 times. Needless to say, my brain feels a little bit joggled around with all of that. So we've been taking some time over the summer to settle back down and decide what to do with our future. We've got lots of lovely sort of possibilities and paths to explore. And so I thought I would take this time to dip my toes back into the world of podcasting and see where that takes us. So, without further ado, I'm going to pick up my knitting because then I can focus on that and I won't start garbling, which is what I'm very well known for. So, the first thing I'm going to show you is a hat that I knit. I can't remember when I knit it, but this has been knit in the last 6 months, sometime over the last 6 months. Maybe this isn't the best thing to start with because I don't remember what the yarn is, but I'll show you the ball first. It's beautiful yarn. This is, I can't remember. I think it might be Sirdar. I'll give you a close-up. It's got the most beautiful tones of colours all the way through it. They have a lot of colourways in this series. So I think this series was called Jewel Spun. And then this colourway, I can't remember, but I will put it here. You're probably seeing it now, hopefully. Basically, I was in a yarn shop and I saw it and just couldn't leave the yarn shop without a ball of it. I didn't have anything particular in mind when I bought it. I just literally fell in love with the ball. Look at all the beautiful colours. Oh gosh, it's gorgeous. It's really soft as well. I'm pretty sure it's like a worsted weight. If I can find the end, I will do that for you. I think it's a worsted weight. It's quite loosely spun. I'm not great on the technicalities of how yarn is spun, but hopefully a close-up can give you a good idea of what the properties of this yarn. And this is what I've knit with it. I've made some notes, so I'm going to be looking down here so I can tell you exactly what I've knit and where the pattern came from, but I've knit a hat. I really, having knit this hat, I really now want to knit a jumper for Martha in this yarn because if you hold it up to her like this, she looks so cute in it. And I think a whole jumper would just make her look so cute and snuggly and colourful. And she likes I know this isn't these aren't rainbow colours, but she likes bright changes of colour. So hopefully I might knit a jumper with it. Pretty sure after knitting the hat I decided I wanted to knit her a jumper and possibly bought an extra ball of this, but I need to find that because my yarn stash is in a mess and I've got yarn because we've moved house quite a few times. I don't know where everything is, so I'm pretty sure I've got enough, or maybe I need to buy one more ball to knit her a jumper. But we'll see. If I do, I will show you it on future episodes of the podcast. So this is a really nice simple hat pattern. I didn't want anything complicated. I wanted to probably stick with just stocking stitch because I think that just shows off the colours so beautifully. The pattern is called, I'm going to consult my notes now, it's just called Hat and it's by Andra Asars. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. If you look on my Ravelry, I have got notes on and pictures, or just this picture really, on my Ravelry page. I am Loop and Bar on Ravelry and I will try to put that here. I'm going to be editing this on my iPad's, I think it's iMovie or it's some kind of movie software. I have never used it before, I just know it's on there. I used to use iMovie with my iMac to do the editing, and I knew what I could do. I could put little bits of writing here that would sort of pop up and then fade away. I don't know if I can do that with this other software because I haven't played with it yet. So one way or another, I'll put some notes somewhere to direct you to my Ravelry page and possibly links to the patterns that I'm talking about. So for this, I can't remember what the pattern called for, but I've knit this to fit me, although Martha wears it. It's a bit big for both of us. I cast on 92 stitches. I don't know if the pattern suggested 92 or if I modified that. I cannot remember. I haven't written my notes in too much detail on Ravelry, I don't think so. But this is a 92 stitch cast on. I used 5.5mm needles. I don't know what the gauge is. I could possibly find out and then put it on Ravelry. I'm not sure if I will do that or not. I always start by knitting my rib flat. So this is a 1x1 rib. I don't think I'm giving the pattern away because I think it's obvious by looking that you can see that that's a 1x1 rib. And I'm not sure which cast on I've used. I think I normally use the German twisted cast on, which I may demonstrate one day on the podcast, but maybe you know what it is already. I love it because you get a lovely neat edge and it's got a nice bit of stretch in it, but not too much as well. Very Pink Knits on YouTube. She has a wonderful channel and she demonstrates all of the different types of cast on, but that's where I learned this particular cast on, the German twisted cast on. I think that's what this one is. So I knit my rib with the 5.5 needles. I knit it flat to start with because I hate joining in the round on the first row. It's too fiddly and I'm guaranteed to do some kind of twisting. So I always knit my rib flat, which of course means that the gauge is going to change. So then I went up to a size 6mm needle to do, when I joined in the round, to do the stocking stitch. And then I basically followed the pattern. It's a really nice simple pattern. I have not put a bobble on. I suppose I could make a pom-pom out of a contrasting yarn, but look at those lovely decreases. Oh, I love it. Lovely swirl. I will put it on. It is too big for me, but yeah, it is, look. So if I knit this again, I would probably just cast on a few less, start with a few less. That only problem is then you're getting into maths, because then you've got to work out the gaps between your decreases if you want even decreases, but I think that's a fairly simple formula to follow if you know what you're doing. So yeah, if I'm knitting this again, or maybe I could try shrinking it in the wash. That's not a good method of resizing a garment. I do not advocate doing that. But Martha loves wearing it because she can put it down over her eyes and hide, because she thinks if she can't see you, you can't see her. Yeah, anyway. I could give this to somebody with a bigger head and knit another one, I suppose. But just imagine a whole jumper knitting this beautiful yarn. So anyway, enough about the hat. I'm going to put it to the side. Hopefully I'll give you some more details about that here or down there. In the bar below. And I'll move on to my next knit. I've got some, it's mostly accessories I've got to share with you today. By the way, before anybody asks, I did not knit this. I bought it from a charity shop. But I am planning a dark green moss stitch jumper. I have in my past knit a dark green moss stitch jumper, which I loved and I used to wear all the time. And it's very, very, when I put it on, I feel like I'm just absolutely me. But I shrunk it in the wash. Oh, I think I cried. And it was too small to wear. I just couldn't. I don't know why I didn't keep it for Martha. I don't know what I've done with it. I dread to think what I've done with it. I'm going to use the excuse of we've moved house a few times in the last few years for anything that I can't explain. And hopefully I'll get away with it. But I actually rebought the exact yarn and I have a jumper quantity of it, and I plan to reknit that jumper because I need to get back into my skin. I felt like that was just me. But in the meantime, I'm loving this jumper, but it's just a commercially bought jumper. I just love the colour of it. Yeah. But I just thought maybe somebody might say, did you knit this jumper? Because it looks hand knit. I didn't. I wish I did. I'm sorry if you can hear my stomach rumbling. I'm actually a bit tired. Sorry if you can hear my stomach rumbling. I'm a bit hungry. I'll probably edit that bit out. Right, okay, let's move on to the next thing. I've been knitting mittens for Martha. I love knitting mittens, I love it. I've got 2 knitting mitten projects to show you. These are finished objects. She's worn, they're quite well worn. I knit them last year. I used the pattern, where are my notes? Here they are. The pattern is called The World's Simplest Mittens by Tin Can Knits. This is a modified version of that pattern. I do not have the other 2 pairs with me to show you. The rainbow pair I have lost. I really hope I can find them because they're so lovely, but I could reknit them because I've still got the yarn. The stripy pair Martha's got with her in her school bag today, because the weather's turned cold and she might need them. So, but there are photographs of both of those other pairs on my Ravelry project pages, so if you do want to have a look at those, you can go over there and have a quick look. I've put some nice photos of those on there, and they show the real version of this pattern, because The World's Simplest Mittens does not include the flap. This is my modification. So I knit the first pair of mittens. If you just imagine the mitten coming up and being a simple normal mitten, that's the first 2 pairs I knit were like that. And then Martha requested some flap over mittens because I think a friend of hers had some. So I knit the mitten up to there as per pattern, and then I did some rib, as you can see. Sorry, I'll put it a bit closer so that you can get a nice close-up look. Did a bit of rib, and then I think, I'm looking at this now, working out how I did it. Right, let me give you a close-up. So I actually then, I went in with a smaller needle just to do the picking up, and I picked up stitches along here on the actual mitten. And then it looks like I then cast on. So I picked up these stitches here, the ones that are joined, and then continued then to cast on presumably the same amount of stitches. I haven't written notes for this. Oh, maybe I have written notes. Check out my Ravelry, because maybe I've put notes about this. I should have looked before I started recording, but anyway, I've clearly cast on some more stitches here, haven't I? And then I've knit in the round, stocking stitch on this side, and then for the little flappy bit I've done some rib there. And then at some point I've obviously done some decreases. I probably followed the pattern for the decreasing. I hope I've put some more details on my Ravelry about this. I think it's quite obvious what I've done there, isn't it? Let me just do this, and maybe we can see how the decreases go. Oh yeah, so they're just paired decreases, like as if you would possibly do a toe on a sock. Or indeed a mitten. I didn't put a button. I kind of regret that in a way, because I think when Martha's wearing them, they can tend to unflap themselves a bit here and gape. So I suppose I could add a button in with a loop here, if she requests that, if she continues to wear them. I could always, or put a little snapper or something. But then I think part of what I was thinking was the button might get in the way of things, because if she's wearing them and wanting to hold things or hold someone's hand or whatever, the button could possibly be a bit cumbersome and get in the way. So I think that's why I didn't put the button in. It took me a couple of attempts to work out where to start this flap and how far to knit before I started to decrease, because obviously I'd gone off the pattern. But these have worked out really nicely. The yarn is Drops Nepal, I believe, just in a variety of different colours. And I'm going to show you that yarn again in a minute in my next mitten project anyway, so I'll show you the ball band for that in a second. But yeah, Drops Nepal. I think it's a worsted weight yarn. have I said what? No, I haven't written down on my notes what needle size I've used, but all of that will be in the pattern or on my Ravelry if you want to go and have a look. But yeah, mittens. And I chose to knit, do a little bit of the sisters not twins type of mittens. Martha liked that. She was into odd socks at one point. I find it really disturbing when people wear odd socks. I cannot deal with it. But Martha had this phase of wanting to wear odd socks, so I just had to let her do it. Oh, it just really messes up the laundry. And it looks like you're disorganised because you couldn't be bothered to find a pair of socks. It doesn't though, it's totally fine to wear odd socks for any of you out there who like wearing odd socks. Anyway, but as a nod to that, I decided to knit odd mittens for her and she really liked that. So I will show you the other pair of mittens that I'm currently working on, and then I'll move on to some socks. So when I first decided to record a podcast episode, I was worried I didn't really have anything to show you because I didn't think I'd been that busy knitting, but it turns out I have knit quite a bit of stuff and I've got a few bits on the go as well. So, whoops, sorry. This is my current project. I'll show you the bag it's in. Da-da-da. It's a really long bag and I'll give you a little close-up. I have made this bag myself. Oh, I don't know if Loop and Bar is going to come across. Oh, that'll probably show backwards, won't it? It says Loop and Bar. I don't know if once I edit the podcast, will that writing switch the other way? We'll see. If it doesn't, just know that it says Loop and Bar. It's my new stamp, but I'll talk more about that afterwards. I invested in a little stamp in case I do bag making again. And this is one of my practice runs. I experimented with toggles instead of zips, so here we are. Hang on, I just can't do that without looking. I can't do it backwards. There we go. I put a toggle on it. I love it. I love wooden toggles. It looks like a duffel coat. This fabric was given to me by a really lovely friend called Eva quite a long time ago, and I still have a bit left, so this was my practice run I'm keeping bag, but I have got another one that I made and I might list it in my Etsy shop. Also, I've got enough fabric to make possibly one other bag of around about this size and maybe a couple of zip pouches, but having not sewn properly for a few years as well, I'm slightly lacking in confidence and feel like I really need to build up my sewing skills and remember how to put things together to a standard that I'm really happy with. So I'm taking some time to do that and experiment and re-practice my skills in that area. So maybe at some point there'll be something in the Etsy shop. Or maybe I'll just have loads of bags that look similar that are mine. Ugh, empty out the project bag. Oh, I'll show you the lining. Oh, actually this one's just got a lining. Whoops. I can't remember the fabric now. But it's, if you can see, it's really faint, but it's got a sort of watercolory yellow, lemony yellow wash, which I thought went really nice with the yellow on the fabric. Okay, here are the mittens that I'm working on. I will start this by saying I think I'm going to pull these down and start them again. Because I think the size, I think they're slightly too big. And there's a bit of an issue with the thumb, but I'll go into that in a minute. So here is the start of the project. These are Woodland Tales by Melody Hoffman. I believe she's still Bee Mandarines. I'm sure a lot of you will be familiar with her work. She is a beautiful knitter and knitwear designer. I haven't really been watching podcasts either, knitting podcasts, for quite a long time. So I should probably check out whether she's still on the scene. I'm sure she is. But if you've never heard of her, have a look at her wonderful, beautiful videos on YouTube. She's just got such a lovely way of recording. Anyway, this is one of her patterns and I love it. And I have knit these mittens before for myself in a yellow yarn, which I previously showed way back on an episode a long, long time ago. but I'm not sure if I put enough detail on my Ravelry pages about that, and I couldn't remember if I modified the pattern in terms of the needle size. I've got quite small hands. These are not going to be for me. I'm knitting them for a friend who has, I haven't seen her for a really long time, so I haven't got her to say, how big are your hands? And I don't want to let her know that I'm knitting them. I want them to be a surprise. I'm going to put them in the post to her. So I'm sort of guessing a bit, but she will have slightly longer fingers than me, because everyone does. I've got little doll hands. However, I still feel like they're coming out a little bit big, maybe a bit wide. I asked my other friend to try them on, and we felt like they were possibly a little bit baggy, for want of a better word. So I might just reknit these on the needle size down. And the other thing I'm considering doing is, I didn't do this on my first pair of mittens of Woodland tail mitts that I knit, but I might do it for this pair. I might just move the thumb a couple of stitches this way. The way that this mitten is designed is that the thumb gusset is literally on the side of the mitten. A lot of mittens are knit with the thumb a little bit further in onto the palm, and that could be a little bit more comfortable. However, my mittens that I knit originally, I knit them exactly to pattern, and they're really, really comfortable. I don't know what, so I'm not sure that when I put these on to try them, I'm feeling like this is a bit tight here. And I don't know if that's just simply because they're coming out quite large, and so I'm inclined to pull the mitten down because it feels to me like this is where the thumb should start, and then it's making it feel like it's tight. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. But when I put my version of the mittens on, I've knit them and they're closed over, and my fingers touch the top of the mitten, and that doesn't allow the mitten to go any further down, which means that my thumb sits around about here. On my other mittens. How complicated to talk about thumb gussets of mittens. And it's really comfortable. So I think I just need to pull these down, reknit them, and bear in mind that I probably need to stop knitting the main body of the mitten and start the decreases a little bit sooner to make this part a little bit shorter, which makes the thumb sit in the right place, I think. Pretty sure, looking at my other mitten, that's what I did. Anyway, once I have worked that out, I'll show you the finished object once I finally get them done. I mean, when these are blocked and when they're being worn, they are the most beautiful, beautiful autumnal mittens ever. I just love the pattern. You do have to knit, I think you have to knit 4 together at some point, which isn't too bad actually with this yarn, because it's quite easy to get the needle sort of under those 4 stitches, but you do have to have a bit of patience. And I had to print the pattern out and have the separate pages and have post-it notes so that I could follow. I definitely can't knit these at my knit group because I sit and chat and then I lose my place and make mistakes. So this is definitely something I have to sit and just concentrate on. But I love them, and it will not be the last time I knit these mittens, because I think they're just beautiful as gifts as well. So I need to get on with those. This is the yarn. I don't think I've put these onto Ravelry yet, but I will do. It's Drops Nepal. Again, it'll be really interesting when I edit this video to see whether this is the right way around or not. I remember this being a confusing issue when I first started podcasting, and then I think I had a function in my editing software to flip the video. So maybe I'll be able to do that. Maybe I won't. Anyway, it's Drops Nepal. It is a wool and alpaca blend. Should I do that so that you can read it? And then I'll read it out. Oh no, there's no good doing that because it's probably going to be back to front for you. They recommend a 5mm needle. What am I using? Let me tell you. I'm using a 4.5mm needle, and actually I feel like it's coming out quite loose still. Although this is knit in the round, but actually knitting in the round gives you a slightly tighter gauge, doesn't it, than knitting flat. So do I go down to a 4? or just knit a slightly smaller version. There are 2 sizes to knit, but I think that only relates to the length of the mitten rather than the width. So I guess I could improvise and just take a couple of stitches out for the palm, but I don't know if that would make the mitten uneven, I'm not sure. I don't know if I can confidently modify the stitch count in that mitten actually. We'll see. So this yarn is a 65% wool, 35% alpaca. And I'm pretty sure it's a worsted weight yarn. It is lovely, it's very soft and I love it. I don't know what the colourway is. It just tells you a number on here, but just in case you want to know, it is colour 8912. I think it's like a deep old rose colour, isn't it? I think if you go on any website that sells this yarn, you'll probably get a nice name for the colour as well. But so watch this space, I will finish those. I feel spurred on to do that actually. And once they're blocked and finished, I'll show you them and hopefully they'll turn out just like my other pair, which I won't show you because I showed those quite a long time ago on the podcast. Let's talk about socks. Let's go on to my socks. These are finished. I have washed these. So I've been wearing these loads. They're so warm. I washed them especially because I didn't want to show dirty socks on the podcast. So they've been, I don't do anything special to wash my socks. I put them in the washing machine just at 40 degrees. I'm pretty sure it's a superwash sock yarn. And I've lost the ball band, but I've written down what it is, so I can tell you what the yarn is. Here's the yarn. It is beautiful. This is another one that I saw in a wool shop. I saw them and I thought, oh, socks, lovely socks. I hadn't gone in specifically looking for yarn. I just walked past a yarn shop in Buxton when we were having a 2-night away there. So the yarn is King Cole Homespun Prism. It's a DK weight and the colourway is Yuletide, which, oh, that's so beautiful. At the moment we're in, if you follow the Wheel of the Year, we're in Samhain, but we will be coming into Yuletide. We're only just really, we're halfway into Samhain, I'm not sure. But anyway, the next one is Yuletide, so I think that's really relevant. It's really lovely, really appropriate. Although I sort of feel like this is autumnal berries type colour. It's beautiful either way. It's really gorgeous. It's a DK spun yarn. Spun yarn? It's a DK weight yarn. And this is how it knits up. I've basically gone with a very vanilla sock recipe. And I have followed a tutorial by Purl Together. She's on YouTube. So Purl Together is the channel. I think her name is Jana. She's lovely. And she did a series called the Sloth Sock Series. I think it's over 3 parts. And she basically takes you through knitting a sock. I think she takes you through knitting the Hermione's everyday sock. If I'm looking into the distance, I'm trying to remember now. But she has her own variations on that and she modifies that for a more simple version for new knitters. So if you've never knit socks before and you want to have a go and you want to be handheld through it and guided through it, I highly recommend that. That 3-part series. It's the Sloth Sock Series by Purl Together on YouTube. I'll try and put it here. So basically what I did is started by casting on, I'm just looking at my notes here, 2.5mm DP ends. I put DPD, that doesn't mean anything. I use DP ends for this. 2.5mm, knitting to fit my foot size, which is UK 5. I cast on 72 stitches. I think that's my go-to cast on. I've knit my rib flat, and you can probably, if you look carefully, see where I have stitched it once I finished the sock. So I've knit flat and then I've joined in the round. I've stuck with the same needle size that time. I haven't changed needle size. So, and then I've just knit in the round, in the round, in the round, until I've got to the point, so it's a cuff down sock, to the point where I wanted to start my heel flap, and that's when I started following the Sloth Sock Series. So she takes you through, in the first part I think it's heel flap and gusset, and then, or is it heel flap and then gusset and then turning the heel. And then there's the third part is where you do the toe, which is just basically a series of decreases, but she just tells you kind of when and where to do those decreases. I've got quite a lot of details about my particular sock on my Ravelry page, but if you've ever knit socks, or if you've seen a lot of podcasters talking about knitting socks, you will probably be aware that everybody's got their own foot size and their own individual unique way, or cast on, or stitch count for their socks. I haven't really worked mine out fully, but I'm pretty sure that a 72 stitch cast on, if I'm using it at this gauge, is about right for me. And these socks fit me so well. I'm in love with them. They're so warm. My heel I have done, is this called the Eye of Partridge? There's a bit of ribbing. It's a slip stitch heel. But again, this is the stitch pattern that is demonstrated on that Sloth Sock series. So if you like the look of this heel, if you go to that, go over to Purl Together, check out that series, you can see how to do that. It's a slip stitch one, so yeah. It makes it really strong and it makes it really warm. And I should probably do my toes in that, but actually on my socks it's usually the heel that wears through first, so it's really worth me taking that extra time to make a bit more of a reinforced heel. So they're finished. I've been wearing them a lot. I'm going to put them on in a minute because my feet are a bit chilly and I've been waiting to put them on. I just wanted to show them first. I think I've said everything I need to about those socks. Yes, I have. Okay, put those in the basket. The other sock that I've been working on, I'm a bit frustrated with this, and it's mostly because Martha's grown. This is the problem with knitting for children, is that you spend quite a lot of time knitting the thing for them, and then they grow out of it really quickly, sometimes before you finish knitting the thing. So I have one finished sock. So these are Martha's. She requested long socks to wear so that they could come up over her wellies. Well, she just likes the idea of having really long socks. She wanted them to go over her knees, but I didn't think I'd have enough yarn, so I told her she could have them up to her knees. If there's enough yarn, I can always knit her some knee warmers. Just some little tubes to sort of put onto her knees as well. But anyway, I love this yarn. I think it's Shopple, but I haven't got the ball band. Again, I'm going to put it here. Also, I'm pretty sure I've put on Ravelry. I can't say that for sure. I might not have put. Anyway, I'll find out what this yarn is, and I will hopefully put it here or down in the information bit below. But this is the ball of yarn. I saw this in a charity shop and I bought it for £1. It was an amazing bargain because I've been looking at this yarn in yarn shops for ages of various different colourways, but I thought that was a really beautiful one. And this is how it knits. So I'm knitting plain vanilla again. So because Martha wanted a really long sock, I've started, a cast on is 72 stitches. Have I written down, let me just rustle my paper a bit and find my notes. I haven't said what needle size I'm using, but these are the needles. I don't know if it says on there. No, they look like a 2.5. I'll find out later on. And then when I show you them as a finished object, I might be able to tell you what needle size they are. I'll put them in my little needle gaugey thingy and find out for sure. But anyway, yeah. I don't know why, but I'm really enjoying knitting my socks on DPNs at the moment. I do knit socks on circular sock needles as well, but I really like knitting on DPNs as well. So that's what I'm doing for these ones. So I've started the second sock, and here we go. I've knit my rib 1 by 1, I believe. Yeah, I love a 1 by 1 rib. knit it flat, I will go along and use that tail to stitch that up at the end, and then joined in the round. And so for Martha's sock, I have started with 72 stitches, which is more of a sort of adult size. Then, because the calf obviously is a little bit wider at the top, so then I've decreased as I've gone down the sock just a little bit. I think I decreased to, can't remember, anyway, it's on my Ravelry page, to about 60 stitches, I think, in increments. So every so often I've done a pair decreases. Again, I followed the Sloth Sock series to remind myself how to knit the heel flap, and then to turn the heel and to knit the gusset. And so the foot, I believe the circumference of the foot, then we're carrying on with the 60 stitch. This is a little bit snug on her foot now, and when I first started knitting these stitches, these socks, she was a junior UK 10.5 size foot. She's now an 11 or 11.5, and she's having a bit of a growth spurt. So, this part of the sock fits perfectly well. I don't think her ankles have grown outwards. She's just kind of growing upwards, and her feet are obviously getting longer. So what I think I might need to do, because it's taken me so long to get this far and to cast on the second sock. But sorry, I'm licking my lips there. I'm quite hungry. It's lunchtime. I might have to pull it back, even to here. I don't know. Where would I need to pull it back to? Possibly to here. Or to the last time that I decreased, so that I don't decrease so many times. So maybe I need to keep, say, 64 stitches on instead of going as far as 60. And then she'll have a little bit more width to the sock, and I definitely need to knit about another ½ inch onto the length. So I'm pretty sure that if I just do it, I can just whiz out the foot again quite quickly, because it's the kind of thing you can just sit in the evening and knit. I can definitely knit this at knit group, because I can just knit. It's just knitting round in the round and chat. But yeah, it's definitely something that I need to do. She really likes the socks, so I really want to finish them. So I need to commit myself to doing that. I need to find the time to do it, but yeah. There we are. Maybe before I carry on with that one, I should alter that one and see what fits properly, and then I'll know how to knit that one. Maybe knit them tiny bit big, because she's going to grow into them. And we're coming into winter, so I need them to last her at least 6 months, I would say. A bit more, possibly, because spring can be quite chilly as well. Anyway, so those are those socks. That's probably, I think that's probably enough. I'm looking at the time. I've been chatting for 40 minutes. In the past, my podcast episodes have run to over an hour. I'm going to try and keep this one down, because it's the first one in a long time. I feel like I haven't been extremely concise, but hopefully I've just showed you my knitting and you found it interesting. I have been sewing, as I've said. I showed you my bag. This is another bag that I made. This is mine to keep. It's just for me. But I saw this fabric and I just fell in love with it. Absolutely adorable colours. And there's my label. This is just me experimenting with stamping onto fabric, making labels out of that, and then stitching it onto stuff and seeing how it looks. So it's my kind of, again, tiptoeing back into bag making. I found the most lovely yellow bird fabric for the lining for this bag. I don't know if you can see that very well. They look like little blue tits. And I followed a tutorial, or actually I watched 2 or 3 different tutorials on the internet about how to, so I've always done box bottoms on my bags. I love the box bottom. It just gives you a little bit more room, and it also means that the bag will sit on its own, which I love, sit upright on its own. But yeah, I managed to somehow do a little bit of a box top on it, but it was quite technical, and this was a bit of a fluke. The way that it's worked out, I'm really happy with it. but it's one of those where I'm not entirely sure which tutorial I followed because I looked at so many. And I can't remember if I modified what she told me to do on the tutorial. I didn't write any notes. And can I recreate this? I don't know. So I think I'm going to buy a few inexpensive zips, use a bit of my scrap fabric and do a bit of experimenting to see if I can hone this method, because I really like the way that that's slightly box topped as well. Anyway, that's my my cute little knitting, my own little knitting project bag. Perhaps I could have centered the pattern a little bit more. The OCD side of me is telling me I should have maybe moved the orange bits this way slightly. I don't think I was in measuring pattern mode. I was just in make a square and sew it into a bag mode at this point. And I put a little handle on, feeling like I'm not sure why I did that. It just looks nice. I'm not sure how functional that is. I don't tend to carry my bags around with me like that. I tend to put them in another bag, and I can't see that I'm going to hang it up, but maybe you could hang it up. I'm not sure. It just looks cute. I'm not sure if I'd incorporate those into any future bags if I were to put any in my Etsy shop at any point in the future. I think my ethos going forward is to keep things simple. I keep telling myself to try and keep things simple in all aspects of my life. I find it hard because my brain doesn't want to do that. My brain fights for complicated. And I'm always saying, no, try to keep things simple. Which is why I did this bag, which is the most simple bag I've ever made, but oh my gosh, it's one of my favourites. It's this fabric again. It's got a slight texture to the fabric. I wish I knew where this fabric came from, because I'd love to buy loads more of it, but yeah, I've only got a little tiny amount of it left. But this is my bag to keep. It's a box bottom, and it's got a mustardy yellow lining. And there is absolutely no closure on this bag whatsoever. It is just a pocket bag, and it works really well. I made it extra specially long, so I could just flap it over. And I think I intended to put a button or a toggle or some sort of fastening on there at some point, which I may well do. But I just love it. I just love the simplicity of it. I haven't put a label on because it's only for me, so. Let me know if you like the really, really simple side of bag life, of knitting project bags. I did experiment with, I'll just grab them. Oh no, I can't find it. Oh, is it in here? Oh no, sorry, no. I was going to show you a little purse that I made, but I'm not because I can't find it, so maybe that's for another day. Here we are. I did a few experiments. Okay, here we are. So I did a few little experiments of zipper pouches. These are the rejects because something or other is wrong with each and every one of them. They look really sweet, but this is the one that I've been using for myself. And again, I've used like a linen mix, pale pink fabric. I've stamped loop and bar on it because I just wanted to use my stamp and see how that worked. I got these really nice zips from a seller on Etsy. I love the donut ring zip, but they're quite expensive to buy unless you're going to buy loads of them wholesale, but still, they are really lovely quality zips. And I think it looks nice, the mustard and the pink together. And I just got some hand-printed cotton from Etsy, some little squares of cotton from Etsy, and yeah, used it for the lining. You can't see that very well, so anyway, that's my little notions pouch that I've been using myself. So again, I'm kind of reteaching myself how to sew. I don't know where I'm going to go with it, or if I will do bags again for the Etsy shop. If I do, it'll just be on a really small scale, kind of every so often I've made an extra bag that I don't need to keep, so I might pop it in the shop. So we'll see how we go with it. In the meantime, I've got lots of bags to put my knitting in, and I'll leave you with a tiny crochet project. I'm going to say goodbye in a minute, and again, I can't tell you where the pattern came from, except for I found it on Pinterest. So I will find my Pinterest page and I will link to it, or put the notes here or down below about where this little pattern came from. But it's so adorable, and I feel like I need to show you a book to demonstrate how it works. So we'll kill two birds with one stone, because then I can show you my soap making book. So it's a little tiny bookmark. And it's a teacup. Oh, It's tiny, tiny crochet. It's been a bit squashed because it's been in a drawer, I think. But if you can see, it's a little tiny teacup. A cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and it sits in your book, and it looks really cute. And it's just got a long tail, which is the bit that keeps your page in your book. I'll try and give you a bit more of a close-up, but it's not the best close-up, is it? I used a tiny crochet hook. I cannot remember what size, probably 2 mil, 2.5 mil, and some little tiny bits of scrap finger weight yarn. You can tell there, actually, that bit's not been incorporated in, so I think it's a fingering weight yarn. But these make just the most lovely little gifts. So if you've got a friend and you want to give them a tiny little gift that's handmade, these are just so lovely. And the book, in case you're interested, is we're just going on to other crafts now. I have recently, so I went to Abercarn, which is a great big fabric shop near where we live, with the intention of looking for a couple of zips and a bit of cotton fabric to do a bit of experimental printing, bag making, all of that. And of course I came home with this, which is nothing to do with fabrics. Hopefully I've been able to flip the screen, but if I haven't and you can't read that, it says natural soap. So it's a book on making natural soaps, and the book itself just looks so beautiful. And for a long time I've been thinking I really want to have a go at making soap. So I just bought the book on a bit of a whim, and then a week later, having read the book and fell in love with the pictures of the soap and the idea of making some soap, I thought I'm going to make soap for Christmas for people. So purchased some materials and equipment and ingredients. I watched loads of YouTube tutorials because cold processed soap is quite scientific and has its hazards. If any of you have made soap or know anybody who makes soap, you will know you are using caustic soda or lye or sodium hydroxide, and you need to wear safety equipment for that, and you definitely need to know that you've got your quantities calculated correctly, quantities of lye with water to make the solution, and then in ratio to the amounts of oils that you're using or fats in your soap. I've already got too technical there, so I'm just going to show you a bit of soap that I've made. I am absolutely a beginner. I've only made 2 batches, my first ever attempt, with lots and lots of watching really experienced soap makers showing you how to make a beginner's bar of soap, and then gloving and goggling myself up in the kitchen and concentrating, and yeah, pouring my first bar or loaf of soap. Oh my gosh, it's so satisfying, and it's drying here. I'll show you a bar. The one that I really am quite happy with is this one. It's the recipe is from this book, and it's peppermint soap, so it's got peppermint essential oil in it. I can already see that I probably incorporated some bubbles accidentally, which won't affect how the soap will work or the quality of the soap. It's just an aesthetic thing, so that's one of my beginner's mistakes. There's a couple of bubbles in it. I incorporated poppy seeds into my soap because I love poppy seeds in soap, and I didn't do anything fancy on the top. I've been watching loads of videos of soap makers doing all kinds of fancy swirls and textures on the top, and you get some really experienced, skilled soap makers who can incorporate all kinds of beautiful pictures and patterns in their soap. But at the moment I'm happy if I can create a solid bar of soap that is safe to use and has some nice qualities. So I'm happy to say that the peppermint is coming through. You have to be really careful on doing lots and lots of research and reading. I've found out that if you're using essential oils or any additives in your soaps, you have to research the quantities that you are legally allowed to use in those as well. So with essential oils, I think there is a chart. I've found a chart that guides you through the EU or the UK permitted, so I'm getting really technical into soap making here, quantities of certain essential oils that you can use in soap. But I am a complete beginner, so I am just following recipes, tried and tested recipes by highly experienced soap makers at this point. At some point it would be nice to think that I might be able to make up my own recipes, but I've got a lot of learning, and I may enrol on a soap making course. I think that would be the sensible thing to do. Especially if I want to use the soap and give it away to friends and family as well, because I definitely need to know that it's safe to use. Put your hands up if you've made soap before. I can't see you, but or maybe just do me a thumbs up down there if you've done soap before. That could be a whole new area of discussion on the Looping Bar podcast. No, predominantly this is a knitting podcast though, so yeah, like I say, at the end of the episodes I might just go into a little bit of extra craft. I was going to show you my stamp, but I'll save that for next time, because we are now running into 51 minutes. I'm in danger of going over the hour mark, so I won't. And possibly I'm going to edit little tiny chunks of this out, so it might even be less than 50 minutes by the time you're watching it. But my stomach's been rumbling all the way through this. I hope you haven't heard that. If you have, I do apologise. Please forgive me. I'm pretty hungry, so I'm going to go and get my lunch now. I'm going to get a nice cup of decaf, something or other, and possibly attempt to edit this episode. And if I'm happy with it, you may well be watching it now on YouTube. I want to wish you all a lovely weekend or week ahead, whatever day it is now. It's Friday for me, but by the time I've edited and uploaded, if indeed I have, I don't know what day it will be. So I'm wishing you all a lovely week ahead, some happy knitting and crafting, and I hope to see you back here sometime soon with a little bit more knitting, some finished mittens, maybe an update on the soap. Thank you for watching. Thank you for sticking with me, if you still are. And see you soon.